Have you ever looked down at your legs in the evening and wondered where they went? Those ankles that used to be so defined, now puffy and swollen, your feet feeling like they're trapped in shoes that suddenly became too small, the skin on your shins leaving deep impressions when you press on them, as if your body has become foreign to you. If you're over 60 and dealing with leg swelling, you've probably been told it's just part of aging. Your doctor might have mentioned heart problems, kidney issues, or simply said to elevate your legs more often. But what if I told you that the real cause of your swelling might be something completely different? Something that most doctors overlook because they're focused on the obvious suspects. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden truth behind leg swelling after 60. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why traditional treatments often fail and what you can actually do to reclaim those strong, comfortable legs you remember having. But first, I want you to know that you're not alone in this struggle. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from today. Have you noticed your legs swelling more as you've gotten older? I read every single comment, and your story might help someone else who's going through the same thing. Let me tell you about Eleanor. At 68, she was a retired librarian who loved her evening walks around the neighborhood. But over the course of just 6 months, those walks became increasingly difficult. Not because she was out of breath or tired, but because her legs felt like they were carrying extra weight that wasn't supposed to be there. Every morning, Eleanor would wake up and her legs looked normal. Slender, familiar, the legs she'd known for decades. But by afternoon, something strange would happen. Her ankles would start to expand. Her calves would feel tight. By evening, when she tried to put on the shoes she'd worn comfortably that morning, her feet wouldn't fit. She went to her doctor, a kind man who'd been treating her family for years. He listened patiently, examined her legs, and ran the usual tests: heart function, kidney function, blood pressure, circulation. Everything came back normal. "It's probably just age-related," he said gently. "Try to elevate your legs when you can and reduce your salt intake." Eleanor followed his advice religiously. She propped her legs up every afternoon. She cut salt from her diet so drastically that her food became bland and unappetizing. She even bought compression stockings that left marks on her skin. But the swelling persisted, and some days it seemed even worse. What Eleanor didn't know, and what her doctor hadn't considered, was that the real culprit wasn't her heart or her kidneys. It wasn't even poor circulation in the traditional sense. The cause was something far more subtle, something that affects millions of people over 60, but is rarely discussed in medical offices. The hidden cause was lymphatic dysfunction. Now you might be thinking, what exactly is the lymphatic system? Most people have never heard of it, yet it's one of the most important systems in your body. Think of it as your body's drainage network, an intricate web of vessels and nodes that's responsible for removing excess fluid, toxins, and waste from your tissues. When you're young, this system works efficiently and silently. Lymph fluid moves smoothly through tiny vessels, gets filtered through lymph nodes, and excess water is eliminated from your body. But as we age, several things happen that can slow down this crucial system. First, the lymph vessels themselves become less elastic. Just like the skin on your face develops wrinkles and loses its bounce, the walls of lymph vessels become stiffer and less able to contract effectively. This means they can't pump fluid as efficiently as they once did. Second, muscle mass naturally decreases with age, a condition called sarcopenia. This matters because your lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump, like your cardiovascular system has your heart. Instead, it relies on muscle contractions to push lymph fluid along. When you have less muscle mass and move less frequently, lymph fluid starts to accumulate in your tissues, particularly in your legs, where gravity makes drainage most challenging. Third, and this is the part that surprised Eleanor's doctor when she finally found a lymphatic specialist, many common medications prescribed to people over 60 can interfere with lymphatic function. Blood pressure medications, anti-inflammatory drugs, even some antidepressants can slow down the lymphatic system's ability to clear fluid from tissues. But here's what's truly eye-opening. Hormonal changes play a massive role that nobody talks about. For women going through menopause and postmenopause, the dramatic drop in estrogen affects the integrity of lymph vessel walls. Estrogen helps maintain the elasticity and strength of these vessels, and when levels plummet, the entire lymphatic network becomes less efficient. For men, the gradual decline in testosterone has a similar effect. Testosterone supports muscle mass and overall circulation, including lymphatic circulation. As levels decrease, men often notice not just reduced energy and strength, but also increased fluid retention, particularly in the lower body. The reason traditional treatments often fail is because they're addressing the symptoms rather than the root cause. Diuretics might temporarily reduce fluid, but they don't fix the underlying lymphatic sluggishness. Compression stockings can help push fluid upward, but they don't restore the natural pumping action of healthy lymph vessels. Eleanor discovered this truth almost by accident. Frustrated with her lack of progress, she mentioned her swelling to a massage therapist during a routine appointment for her aching shoulders. The therapist, who happened to specialize in lymphatic drainage, took one look at Eleanor's legs and immediately recognized the signs. "This isn't circulation," she said confidently. "This is lymphatic stagnation." The massage therapist explained that Eleanor's lymph system had essentially become sluggish, like a river that's lost its current. The fluid was still there, but it wasn't moving efficiently. Instead of draining away as it should, it was pooling in her tissues, creating the swelling that had been plaguing her for months. That day, Eleanor received her first lymphatic drainage massage. It wasn't like a regular massage with deep pressure and kneading. Instead, it involved very gentle rhythmic movements designed to encourage lymph flow. The therapist used light, circular motions, starting from Eleanor's feet and working upward, following the natural pathways of the lymphatic system. The results were almost immediate. By the time Eleanor left the appointment, her legs looked noticeably different. The swelling hadn't completely disappeared, but there was a visible improvement that she hadn't seen in months. More importantly, her legs felt lighter, less heavy and burdensome, but the massage therapist didn't stop there. She taught Eleanor a series of simple exercises and techniques she could do at home to support her lymphatic system. These weren't complicated movements, requiring special equipment or hours of time. They were gentle, purposeful activities that anyone could incorporate into their daily routine. The first technique was something called lymphatic breathing. This involves lying down with your legs slightly elevated and taking slow, deep breaths that expand your diaphragm. This breathing pattern creates internal pressure changes that help pump lymph fluid throughout your body. Eleanor was instructed to do this for just 10 minutes, twice a day. The second technique was dry brushing. Using a natural bristle brush, Eleanor learned to gently brush her skin in long, sweeping motions toward her heart. This stimulates the lymph vessels just beneath the skin and encourages fluid movement. The key is to use very light pressure and always brush toward the center of your body, never away from it. The third technique was ankle pumping. While sitting or lying down, Eleanor would flex and point her feet, rotate her ankles, and gently contract her calf muscles. These movements activate the muscle pump that helps push lymph fluid upward against gravity. Within 2 weeks of implementing these simple techniques, Eleanor's evening swelling had reduced by more than half. Her shoes fit comfortably throughout the day. She could walk longer distances without that heavy, burdensome feeling in her legs. Most importantly, she felt like she had her body back. But lymphatic dysfunction isn't the only hidden cause of leg swelling after 60. There's another factor that's even more commonly overlooked, and it has to do with something you probably do every single day without thinking about it. I'm talking about sitting. Now, Before you roll your eyes and think this is just another lecture about being more active, hear me out. The problem isn't just that we sit too much as we age. The problem is how we sit and for how long without interruption. When you sit for extended periods, especially with your legs bent at 90-degree angles, you're essentially creating a dam in your circulatory system. Blood and lymph fluid that should be flowing freely back to your heart gets trapped in your lower extremities. Add to this the fact that many people over 60 spend long hours sitting in the same position, watching television, reading or working on hobbies, and you've created the perfect conditions for fluid accumulation. But here's the part that will surprise you. It's not just the sitting itself that's problematic, it's the temperature of where you're sitting and what you're wearing while you sit. Many older adults, particularly those dealing with circulation issues, tend to seek out warm environments. They wear thick socks, use heating pads, or sit in overly warm rooms. While this might feel comfortable, heat actually causes blood vessels to dilate and can worsen swelling. When your blood vessels expand due to heat, they become more permeable, allowing fluid to leak into surrounding tissues more easily. Additionally, tight clothing, particularly around the waist, thighs, and calves, can restrict lymphatic flow. Those comfortable elastic waistbands, snug socks with tight elastic bands, even well-fitting jeans can create pressure points that interfere with the body's natural drainage systems. The solution isn't to avoid sitting altogether, which would be unrealistic for most people. Instead, it's about changing how you sit and incorporating specific movements that keep your lymphatic system active throughout the day. One of the most effective techniques is something called the hourly circulation break. Every hour, regardless of what you're doing, you take just 2 minutes to stand up and perform simple movements. You can march in place, rise up on your toes 10 times, or simply walk to another room and back. This brief interruption is enough to restart your body's natural pumping mechanisms. Another powerful technique is positional variation. Instead of sitting in the same position for hours, you deliberately change your leg position every 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes you extend one leg, sometimes you elevate both feet on a footstool, sometimes you sit with your legs uncrossed. These small adjustments prevent fluid from settling in one area for too long. Temperature management is equally important. Keeping your legs and feet at a moderate temperature, not too warm and not too cold, helps maintain optimal vessel function. If you tend to feel cold, instead of using heating pads or thick socks, try light layering that you can adjust throughout the day. But there's still another hidden cause that we haven't discussed yet, one that affects millions of people over 60 but is rarely connected to leg swelling in medical consultations. This cause is chronic, low-grade inflammation. As we age, our bodies develop what scientists call inflammaging, a condition where low-level inflammation becomes a constant background process. This inflammation isn't the acute kind you experience with an injury or infection. Instead, it's a subtle, persistent inflammatory state that affects multiple body systems, including the lymphatic system. This chronic inflammation can be triggered by many factors common in people over 60. Poor sleep quality, chronic stress, certain medications, processed foods, and even social isolation. The inflammation causes lymph vessels to become less efficient, lymph nodes to become sluggish, and the overall drainage system to work below optimal capacity. The fascinating thing about this inflammatory connection is that people often don't realize they have it. They might feel generally tired, experience minor aches and pains, or notice that injuries take longer to heal. They might have digestive issues, skin problems, or frequent minor infections. These seemingly unrelated symptoms are actually all connected to the same underlying inflammatory process that's also causing their leg swelling. Margaret, a 74-year-old former teacher, discovered this connection entirely by accident. She had been dealing with leg swelling for over a year, trying various treatments with minimal success. But when she developed a painful case of arthritis in her hands, Her rheumatologist prescribed an anti-inflammatory protocol that included dietary changes, specific supplements, and stress reduction techniques. The protocol wasn't designed to address her leg swelling at all. It was focused on reducing the inflammation causing her joint pain. But within 3 weeks of following the anti-inflammatory regimen, Margaret noticed something unexpected. Her legs were no longer swelling by the end of the day. The heavy, uncomfortable feeling that had become her normal was simply gone. When she mentioned this to her rheumatologist, he wasn't surprised. He explained that inflammation is a whole-body process, and when you successfully reduce it in one area, you often see improvements in seemingly unrelated symptoms. The anti-inflammatory approach that helped Margaret involves several key components that anyone can implement. The first is dietary modification, but not in the way most people think. Instead of focusing on what to avoid, the emphasis is on what to include. Foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, such as fatty fish, walnuts, and flax seeds, help reduce inflammatory markers throughout the body. Colorful fruits and vegetables provide antioxidants that protect cells from inflammatory damage. Herbs and spices like turmeric, ginger, and garlic contain natural anti-inflammatory compounds that can be easily incorporated into daily meals. The second component is sleep optimization. Poor sleep quality is one of the most significant contributors to chronic inflammation. When you don't get adequate restorative sleep, your body produces more inflammatory cytokines and fewer anti-inflammatory compounds. For people over 60, this is particularly important because age-related changes in sleep patterns already make quality rest more challenging. Simple sleep hygiene improvements can have profound effects on inflammation levels. This includes maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, creating a cool, dark sleeping environment, and avoiding screens for at least an hour before bedtime. Many people find that gentle leg elevation during sleep also helps with both swelling and sleep quality. The third component is stress management. Chronic stress, even low-level stress that you might not consciously notice, triggers inflammatory pathways in the body. This stress can come from health concerns, financial worries, social isolation, or simply the accumulated challenges of aging. Effective stress reduction doesn't require expensive therapies or time-consuming practices. Simple techniques like deep breathing exercises, gentle stretching, or even spending time in nature can significantly reduce stress-related inflammation. The key is consistency rather than intensity. But here's something that might surprise you about addressing the root causes of leg swelling. The improvements often extend far beyond just your legs. When Eleanor addressed her lymphatic dysfunction, she didn't just see improvements in her swelling. Her energy levels increased, her skin looked healthier, and she found that minor aches and pains throughout her body improved. When Margaret reduced her inflammation levels, her joint pain decreased, her digestion improved, and she felt mentally sharper. This happens because these underlying causes, lymphatic dysfunction, poor circulation habits, and chronic inflammation, don't just affect your legs in isolation. They're systemic issues that impact your entire body. When you address them properly, you're not just treating a symptom, you're supporting your overall health and vitality. Now, you might be wondering what you can actually do starting today to begin addressing these hidden causes. The good news is that the most effective interventions are simple, gentle, and can be done at home without any special equipment or expensive treatments. Let's start with immediate techniques you can implement today. The first is the morning circulation routine. And as soon as you wake up, before you even get out of bed, spend 5 minutes doing gentle ankle circles, calf raises, and deep breathing. This kickstarts your lymphatic system for the day and helps prevent fluid from accumulating in your legs. The second is the evening drainage sequence. About 2 hours before bedtime, elevate your legs above heart level for 15 to 20 minutes while doing gentle ankle pumps and deep breathing. This helps drain any fluid that has accumulated during the day and prepares your body for restorative sleep. The third is mindful movement breaks. Set a timer to remind yourself to move every hour during your waking hours. The movement doesn't need to be intense, just enough to activate your muscle pumps and restart circulation. For addressing inflammation, start with one anti-inflammatory food at each meal. This could be adding berries to your breakfast, including leafy greens in your lunch, or cooking with turmeric in your dinner. Small, consistent additions are more effective than dramatic dietary overhauls. Hydration plays a crucial role, but not in the way most people think. Drinking adequate water is important, but the timing and type of fluids matter. Drinking small amounts of water consistently throughout the day is more effective than drinking large amounts infrequently. Adding a pinch of high-quality salt to your water can improve hydration at the cellular level. Temperature therapy can also be remarkably effective. Alternating between comfortably warm and cool water on your legs helps stimulate circulation and lymphatic flow. This can be as simple as ending your shower with cooler water on your legs or soaking your feet in alternating warm and cool water baths. But perhaps the most important intervention is something that costs nothing and requires no special skills: attention and consistency. Many people over 60 have become disconnected from their bodies. They've learned to ignore signals, dismiss symptoms as just aging, and accept limitations that might actually be reversible. The simple act of paying attention to your legs, noticing how they feel throughout the day, and responding to their needs can be transformative. This attention might mean recognizing that your legs feel heavier after certain foods and lighter after others. It might mean noticing that particular activities or positions make swelling worse or better. It might mean becoming aware of the connection between your stress levels and how your legs feel. The consistency component is equally important. These interventions work through cumulative effects rather than immediate dramatic changes. The lymphatic system responds to gentle, consistent stimulation over time. Inflammation levels decrease gradually with sustained anti-inflammatory practices. Circulation improves with regular, repeated activation. This is why quick fixes and dramatic interventions often fail, while simple, consistent practices succeed. Your body is incredibly adaptable and responsive, but it needs time and consistency to make lasting changes. As we near the end of our exploration of these hidden causes, I want to address something important. You might be feeling frustrated that these causes aren't commonly discussed in medical settings. You might wonder why your doctor didn't mention lymphatic dysfunction or inflammation when you complained about leg swelling. The truth is that our medical system excels at diagnosing and treating acute conditions and serious diseases. But it's less equipped to address the subtle, multifactorial issues that often affect people as they age. Lymphatic dysfunction, circulation habits, and chronic inflammation fall into gray areas that don't fit neatly into standard diagnostic categories. This doesn't mean your symptoms aren't real or important. It simply means that you might need to take a more active role in understanding and addressing them. The techniques and approaches we've discussed are based on solid scientific understanding of how your body works. Even if they're not commonly prescribed in conventional medical settings, remember that you know your body better than anyone else. You're the one living in it every day, noticing the subtle changes and patterns that might not be apparent during a brief medical appointment. Trust your observations and don't hesitate to advocate for yourself. If you're dealing with leg swelling after 60, you're not experiencing inevitable aging. You're experiencing the effects of specific, addressable causes that you now understand better. With the right approach, consistency, and patience, you can reclaim the comfort and function of your legs. Your legs have carried you through decades of life. They've taken you places you wanted to go, supported you through challenges, and enabled countless experiences and memories. They deserve your attention, care, and the benefit of your newfound understanding. Starting today, you have the knowledge to begin addressing the real causes of your leg swelling. Begin with small, gentle steps. Listen to your body's responses. Be patient with the process, and remember that every positive change, no matter how small, is moving you in the right direction. If this information has been helpful to you, I'd love to hear about your experience. Have you noticed connections between your lifestyle habits and your leg swelling? What techniques are you most interested in trying? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you found this information valuable, please consider subscribing for more insights into the real causes behind common health concerns after 60. Together, we can uncover the truth behind the symptoms and reclaim the vitality that's rightfully yours at every age. Your legs, your comfort, and your mobility matter. And now, you have the knowledge to do something meaningful about it.